Welcome everyone to Charts Focus 1, where we teach you how to work hard and trade smart. Now, if you guys are looking at this video before you read the market summary, make sure you read the market summary first. It's critical that you read it because it will make you understand why we are looking at these specific names for this full trading week. All right, with that in mind, let's take a look at the overall market. So SPY is looking pretty good. On the weekly time frame, we're looking at a potential cup and handle, right? And right now on this handle, looks like we're about to break to the upside. So we have a little tiny peak thanks to last week's little poke above 388. And all I wanted to see, minimum, was a peak above 386. But we got even more. We almost retested the critical level of resistance at 390. So my number one reason why I am short-term bullish is that one, we have a nice weekly bullish hammer candlestick, right? And this hammer candlestick indicates that there can be a potential reversal to the upside, and we can only get confirmation that this candle has been indicating for a reversal if this week is a continuation to the upside. So this is a critical level that we need to test, this 390 resistance level. And guess what? It also coincides with my momentum 10 SMA on the weekly time frame. So if you guys forgot, my 10 and my 21 SMA is a pair. It's what I call a momentum pair. So these two momentum SMAs will provide insight to where the potential short-term move can be. And for now, it looks like we're about to continue to the upside as we formed a very nice hammer candlestick, catapulting us out of that very, very tight range that we got for the past 3 weeks, right? Including last week. So, the fact that we've been seeing lower selling volume as we continue to move lower, but with the constant amount of bounces and the amount of buyers that defended every single support level like 375 and 378.50 just shows you that sellers were getting exhausted of trying to push the price lower. So on these two weekly candlesticks, you can clearly tell that there's some sort of seller exhaustion. And for the fact that we've been seeing decreasing selling volume, right? It looks like a staircase here, right? This is exactly a textbook indication on the volume that sellers are really getting exhausted and they don't want to short any longer, right? And they're just willing to let the buyers come back in and provide some nice buying momentum to the upside and bidding the price higher. So on the weekly time frame, we need to hold above the 386 resistance level that we were able to go past through on the intraday time frames. And we also need to retest the 390 whole number level and retest the 10 SMA as well. And once we do that, we need to start breaking above it, both the SMA and the level immediately, right? I do not want to see a brief pause for a couple of days below 390 because that allows sellers to get even more confidence than the previous 2 to 3 weeks, okay? And that can bring them back in a large driving force. So make sure you guys watch out for this 390 level and the 10 SMA on the weekly time frame. Now, what happens if we break above 390? Well, I'm gonna have my my eyes on 395. Now, if you guys remember, we have a very, very nice 5-point range between 395 and 400. This is the magnet level. This is the whole number psychological level that every bull will be looking at, right? And bears do not want us to go to that $400 price. So if we're able to reach this $400 price by, getting out of this 5-point range, okay, we should be able to see a nice, bigger, and even bigger breakout on the weekly time frame or even on the monthly time frame out of this huge descending channel. Okay, but that's for another time because we haven't done that just yet. But that is what I'm having my eyes on for the future. If we do break out above 390, which will be very, very ideal for this week. But other than that, let's go ahead and take a look at our first name. So this is FNGU, and on the weekly time frame, we see a very large macro falling wedge. So this falling wedge spans for most of 2022, right? Almost the entire year. And so, the falling wedge is obviously a downtrending chart pattern, right? Because the price is, if it is, like in this case, respecting these two trend lines, the support and the resistance trend lines, okay, the price should be heading lower and lower and lower. And ultimately, it will hit a price level, specifically a support, where it can bounce off of. And eventually, the price will be able to break above this descending level of resistance and have a nice big breakout out of this macro falling wedge. And so on this name, if I go back on the daily time frame, I am still not completely convinced that this one is out of its downtrending price action within the falling wedge because we have closed just slightly, ever so slightly above the daily 10 SMA. And also, we have just got pretty recently crossed below the 50 SMA, where the 10 and 21 have crossed below the 50 SMA. And so on the short-term perspective, that is not good, right? And we also got that cross of the 10 below the 21 as well back in mid-December. And that's not that far away, right? That was only a few weeks ago. So if we're able to break above the 10 SMA and hold above the 10 SMA for this entire week, this name will be good for a nice setup and a long entry above 43. Or if you guys want to play the long game here for FNGU, we can see a nice breakout above 45.50. Or if you guys just want to simplify your numbers and use easy numbers, you can use 46.10. Right now, the reason why I only said long over $43.10 or over the previous high of the day is that if we do decide to continue to the upside this week, you guys can get an early entry and we can ride above 46 and eventually a breakout to the upside. All right, our second name is XME. And if you guys have read the market summary, you guys should know why I chose this ETF. So XME broke out on Friday with very, very good volume, double the volume, over the double amount on the average daily volume. And this tells me that buyers are back in this name. And just for the fact that we've been consolidating, making a huge double bottom base here for the entirety of 2022 tells me that there is good relative strength. So all we need is a nice big breakout, a volume-backed breakout specifically in order to see a nice continuation to the upside. And if you guys didn't know, metals and mining names have been on a hard uptrend since 2020 lows, right? So with XME here, I want to get involved in this specific ETF because I don't want to cherry pick individual, commodities and steel names, right? So any type of commodity, I do not want to just cherry pick and look at every single individual name that I like to see. So I want to participate in the entire sector. And so that is one of the major reasons why I chose XME. Now, the weekly time frame, it looks like we're about to validate this double bottom bounce by breaking above and holding above 52.50, or again, if you guys want to use simple numbers and easy numbers, $53. So our good entry point will be over $53.20 for this week for a continuation higher. And I truly believe that we can see a higher high this week. And in order for us to do that, we need to get above 54.62. So that could be our first profit target or first target that you want to see for your long-term position on this name. All right, so our third name here is Apple. You guys know we have a position in this already, so you guys should know the technical analysis that I'm looking for as well. But as a reminder, Apple, okay, we need to be seeing a nice hold above 130. So this is a critical level of resistance on the intraday time frames and on the daily time frame very recently as well. All right, on the daily here, we can see that the price has reacted on this 130 level as a level of support and as a level of resistance multiple times. So if we're able to get back above 130, then we can shoot straight towards 134. And that should also coincide with the 21 SMA if the price is able to move with large amounts of volume. However, that's not really the case here. The market won't ever give us that ideal move. So I expect us to, move to 134 in the next few trading days. And if that happens, which most likely will, we can see the daily 21 SMA also coming down and possibly, retesting with the price here around 132 to 132.50. That's my prediction. Okay. Now, this 134 level, so if you go back into a weekly time frame, is a huge area of previous support, and now obviously it's a huge area of resistance. This is where sellers came in strong, right? We saw a bunch of selling volume coming in, and so if we're able to push past these sellers at this $134 level, we can break above it and turn it back into a new support level once more. So again, this week, for myself personally, I'm looking at a maximum profit target level of 134. All right, so our fourth name here is Etsy. So ETSY. This one is incredibly strong. So this one is standing out amongst the other online e-commerce names, right? All these internet companies, these .com companies. And Etsy, on a technical perspective, we're above the 50 SMA and we're above the 200. And guess what? We just had, pretty recently here so far, the 50 crossing above the 200. That is called a golden cross. And so obviously, on a broader time frame perspective, this one does not look good too, especially after that tumultuous downfall of the share price since 2021. So this one will take some time to recover what it had lost for most of 2022 and a little bit of 2021 as well. And in order for us to really get back above a nice uptrend is, well, what it's been doing so far, right? So we've been seeing a nice higher lows, right? Higher highs and higher lows again. So during that higher lows and higher highs phase, we've been seeing accumulation, right? So specifically, we've been seeing accumulation here and over here as well. How do we know this? Well, because we made higher lows and higher highs. And that tells me on a long-term perspective that this one is ready to move back to the upside, have a nice overall uptrend on the short-term perspective and in the long-term perspective. So if you go back on the daily time frame, okay, and if you refocus our attention back to the short term here, okay, we have held the daily 50 SMA so far, multiple trading days, specifically 4 trading days here, and we are now retesting the 10 SMA. So on Friday, thanks to the overall market movement higher, we're able to break above the 10 SMA, but unfortunately, we closed slightly below it, up around 30 plus cents here of a difference. And this name will need to have more evidence that's ready to make new higher highs compared to 142.53. All right, so in the daily time frame, again, you guys can clearly see that we've been making higher lows, right? 67.01, 87.24, and then higher highs with 123.03 and 142.53, right? So I want to be able to catch the entire move where we make or at least retest the previous higher high here of 142.53. So we want to be looking at this name for the breakout on this descending channel, even though right now it looks like it's about to make a broadening descending channel, especially if we continue to move to the downside. But again, ideally, we want to hold above the daily 50 SMA, so I will think that the buyers are defending this daily SMA, right? So look for a nice entry point above 122. All right, so our fifth name here, our second to last name here is MNSO, Minnesota. So to any Californian residents or citizens, you guys can obviously know what this is. It's a very popular store, a chain of stores in California. But if you don't, that's fine. But on a technical perspective, this one has been going to the stratosphere. So between early November to early December, we've been seeing a short squeeze occurring in this name. And on Friday, we're able to break out of this nice consolidation that we've had for almost the entire month of December. So this tells me that there's still a good amount of buyers left, and you want to be in these momentum breakouts. And why do I call it a momentum breakout? Because the price is simply surfing the 10 and 21. How do we know this? Because whenever we retest the 10 or the 21, we tend to hold, right? And even if we slightly break below it, we tend to hold the closest support levels, whether it be intraday or on the daily time frames. And once we are able to hold the support levels, we come right back above both the 10 and 21 SMAs. So this one definitely still has a lot more momentum left. However, this week, I will strongly caution that you guys are more wary on this name because, again, we have had a very, very large run and return so far from a single-digit share price point to double digits here. So I will expect every single pullback on this name that could happen, right? This name has been a very heavily shorted name for the past couple of years, right? Well, only specifically 2 years here, or 2+ years. And if the shorters come back this week, this will definitely have to pull back by a lot, right? And I would potentially see single digits again for this name. But coming from a more optimistic perspective on the weekly time frame, we are definitely headed higher. If we can retest the previous high point of $13 exactly to a whole number, okay, we will be very, very happy to be involved in this name. All right, so our last name here is GNK. So GNK is showing a very, very nice higher high, higher low uptrend. And thanks to that, good uptrend there, we're making a very, very large ascending triangle chart pattern, right, on the daily time frame. But if you switch to the weekly, okay, it seems like we're on a trajectory to the downside, right? And for now, I would say you don't have to be biased to the long side just because I am looking at this name to the long side. Like, remember, guys, this one is still moving to the downside, right? Overall, right, it seems like we are consolidating this big pullback that we had since the start of summer of last year. So this is a months-long slide to the downside. So it definitely makes sense that we're seeing a month-long consolidation, right? Where we're consolidating the big move to the downside before we start heading lower once more. And again, the trajectory is still to the downside. I would say, only act on this name, especially this week, if we get a lot of volume. So this one is not a high beta name, right? It's not a high beta name. So, uh, you know, if you guys are having trouble finding out what names are high beta, just simply look at the percentage gains that this name can have or losses, right? So uh, on Friday, we saw a 3.06% gain when only we've gained 46 cents, right, per point. So 46 points, right? Um, So, that tells me that this one is not a high beta name, and we need an immense amount of volume to be able to break above $16, or if you want to get in early, which I wouldn't really recommend, but at least a break above 15.80, which will be our level of resistance right here. Okay. So, for a name like this with a very low beta, okay. And again, if you want to look at identifying low or high beta names, just take a look at the percentages, okay, and then how much they move per day, per price point. All right, so that is it for this week. Hopefully, you guys have read the market summary before coming to the end of this video. And hopefully, you guys have read all the information that I'm giving you, and make sure you guys are always using that information to your advantage, right? So either write it down on a piece of paper or have the document open or the newsletter open, and make sure you guys memorize all the data that I'm giving you, because it'll be very, very important for the short-term and long-term future. And it will also influence what names that we're looking at for this entire year, right? If you guys remember, I said that we'll be very selective on names. So we will try to make sure to be looking at maximum 6 names every single week, right? And it doesn't matter if it's the same names that we carried over from last week or the previous weeks. All we need to do is have a very selective group of names that we look at every single week. Okay? All right, have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys all in the morning. Good luck.